is American Roundtable. So happy to have you with us here on Tough TV 38 in Orlando and the Tough TV Network. I'm Al Spry. I have a special guest for a special show on American Roundtable. It is Paul Meckes. Paul Meckes is an ordained metaphysician. That's right, we're talking ghosts and spirits on today's American Roundtable. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Al. Pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you, sir, and I want to tell you that this is an area of interest for me and, of course, my co-host, Bill Strickler. But I wanted to do this show with you and kind of get background on yourself and also what drew you to this exciting and interesting field and how the metaphysical world pertains to what we consider the world of the five senses. So we're going to be talking about that today again. So thank you so much for joining us here on American Roundtable on Tough TV 38 and the Tough TV Network. By the way, if you want to interact with us, you can always reach us on our Facebook page. Our Facebook page is American Roundtable. It's facebook.com/USA Roundtable. So Paul, I guess we'll just dive in with what first interested you about this field.
As a child, I grew up experiencing phenomenon that I couldn't explain, and realized it wasn't exactly normal. So started getting a little bit more interested in it as I got in my teenage years and into high school and then in college, and then decided to partake a degree and get more professional in it.
When you say you had experience as a child, let's go into that experience and how it affected you to make it really one of your major interests and one of your major lines of work.
Hearing noises, as though something's trying to interact or getting my attention, knocking on a door, opening up a door and there's nothing there, nobody there. Hearing my name call or hearing whispers or hearing, tapping on the shoulder, the chill, the hair standing on the back of your neck. Pretty much most of us experience that most of the time, but have no explanation. And I felt that it was a time for me to find an explanation and get more scientific with it.
Some would say that some of these could be hallucinations or other things other than the spirit realm. What made you know that it was definitely coming from that and not some type of an underlying cause?
That's where you kind of got more into the spiritualist aspect of it. The religion / the science. There's a town here in Florida called Casadega. Most of the Floridians are very well aware of it. Getting into mediumship. I'm also a student medium. And getting more into the science and the explanation of understanding the psyche of the human being and how within the spiritualist explanation of how the body can, or how our physical body can give us signs that we're somewhat communicating or being in touch with spirit.
So happy to have my guest Paul Meckes. He's going to have a lot more for us on this exciting edition of American Roundtable. By the way, if you love this show, please tell your cable operator, I want my Tough TV. I'm Al Spry, and we'll have more for you right after this on the American Roundtable on Tough TV 38 and the Tough TV Network. Welcome back to the American Roundtable. I'm Al Spry. I'm so happy to have Paul Meckes with us. I know we introduced him earlier. Let me tell you a little bit more about him. He's a very interesting fellow, and I'm really, really happy to have you on the show. Paul Meckes is an ordained metaphysician. He received his Ph.D. in metaphysical science, cum laude, and ordination in the spring of 2014 under the authority of the Institute of Metaphysical Humanistic Science of Florida, based out of Sarasota. While in his doctoral studies, Paul founded and headed Claremont Paranormal and Metaphysical Research Society, which is a noetic science coalition and a network of diverse scientific disciplines. Now, in English, what is that? What's noetic science, and what is the institution that you founded? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Noetics was actually coined by former astronaut Edgar Mitchell. after he got back from his exploration of space, he felt that there was a little bit more of a connection, or a little bit more out there related to the human condition, supernatural or otherwise. And he started the Institute of Noetic Science, also known as IONS. And with me starting Claremont Paranormal, I wanted to get more into the scientific aspect, the forensic aspect of paranormal investigation or metaphysical exploration, the way that Edgar Mitchell kind of foresee it. Get science, be more scientific, and it's better for the mainstream to kind of understand where we're coming from when we're trying to prove the metaphysical.
Well, I have to ask you this. What do you think he saw out there to make him create this noetic science stuff? I mean, he must have seen some funky stuff.
He must have.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was in space, if anybody was in space, you're now away from your own planet, and trying to, for anybody who has not left the planet, so to speak, try to wrap your mind around that you have left your planet.
I mean, I have, but not physically. You know what I mean? Yeah. So.
Yeah.
It almost reminds me of that movie 2001, A Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
Where if you've ever seen that movie, I don't want to give the whole thing away, but they're on a mission to Jupiter because they've seen these monoliths, and every time a monolith appears, there's an evolution in humankind, and eventually the man becomes, one of the astronauts goes on a journey that's extra perception, you could say, right?
Yeah.
Without giving too much away.
Yeah.
Would you say that's something like that was happening?
Yeah. Even with my first experiences, you kind of step out of yourself and you realize, well, this is not normal. This isn't. There's something else with the human condition that you're not used to. You can't explain, and it's just abnormal.
Did you almost question your own sanity at first?
Yeah.
When did you know that you weren't nuts? You know, like when did you know that there really was something to this? Because I mean, if it was happening to me and I was hearing voices, and first thing I would think is maybe I should go see a psychologist or something, you know. But I mean, the more you looked into it, the more you ruled that out. Because you seem like a pretty sane feller.
And the thing back when I was growing up, there wasn't very many mainstream shows out there like Ghost Hunters or all these paranormal investigating shows.
No, we had the movie Poltergeist, and that was about it.
Pretty much. That was about it. Yeah.
And Ghostbusters.
And then looking at Hollywood and see how Hollywood portrays the supernatural or the metaphysical, I'm like, I don't feel that way. Mm-hmm. I feel that there's something good and benevolent coming from the other side, trying to interact. And a lot of people that I investigate or do investigations with or come to me and say, I need help.
Right.
They feel that they're getting a malevolent force, an evil force. And what I try to prove and try to contact or try to prove is that it's not necessarily malevolent, that it's
benevolent.
It's benevolent.
Yeah.
And most of the time it is that.
Well, and you look at the nature of the universe. I mean, it's nature is good. There's a good nature. Yeah, is there dark energy? Of course there is, right?
Yeah.
They've been exploring that for years and decades and centuries in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really interested in talking more about this with you. I am so happy to have Paul Meckes as my special guest here on American Roundtable, Metaphysical Edition, here on Tough TV 38 and the Tough TV Network. Thank you, everybody. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the American Roundtable here on Tough TV 38 and Tough TV. I'm Al Spry, and I'm interviewing not only a guest, but a friend of mine, Paul Meckes, and he is an ordained metaphysician. He is actually considered you're licensed, you're ordained, you have the ability to help police on investigations, which I think is really cool, and I want to delve a little bit into that shortly. But what I first wanted to ask you, and kind of what I wanted to bring it together with is, how do most people experience these events? How does the metaphysical, how does the spiritual, how do ghosts touch people in ways that affects them? How do we know that it's happening? How can the average person tell that it's happening? In other words, how is the human condition and humanity, people, affected by these events and by these spiritual realms? How's the connection formed, how does the connection exist? Because I know you've done, you're a doctor in it. So this is very interesting, and I wanted to kind of dive into that.
Well, Al, there is, lack of a better word, there's an ignorance in today's society.
And ignorance just means just the knowledge isn't there, right?
There's no knowledge of it, and the ignorance or the non-knowledge
or lack of knowledge.
The lack of knowledge is, we have, with today's technology, we have gotten away from our own spirituality and to realize that we are spiritual beings. We are spirit ourselves, trapped in a physical vessel. Because of that, what you mentioned earlier, the five senses, we get caught up within the human condition, the five senses. Well, we got to breathe, we got to eat, we got to sleep, we have to do all this stuff to survive.
Got to have sex.
Got to have that. And we depend on these things, and we get so caught up into it, we lose our connection with the other side, our spiritual selves.
Because we're so
selves.
in the self, in the ego, in the self, and the self, and the self.
Yeah.
You're saying that the blockers go up.
It's a block. It's a wall.
You're not seeing the connection.
Yep.
The connection's gone.
Yep.
No connection.
There's zero connection. There might be a little bit, and that small bit is where this paranormal or these supernatural or anomalous events occur, where spirit reaches out to us, whether it's a family member, other ancestors, friends, or people call them spirit guides, angels, kind of reach out and kind of give us a little boost, tap us and go in the right direction.
And that's what I want to ask you. I mean, is Mom up there guiding me? She's passed away. Does she exist in that form where she knows who she is and knows who I am, or is it just more amorphous, or is it what's your from what you've studied, what's your thoughts on that?
Through my studies and through a lot of the people that I've studied with, including shamans, at a scientific aspect, we don't really know. We don't have proof of it. But with all the spiritualists like the shamans, other metaphysicians and doctors, even in the medical field, some neuroscientists that I've talked with, is throughout history we have always contacted our ancestors for help. Mm-hmm. In other nations and other cultures throughout the world, they have altars that have their ancestors memorialized.
Like Shinto in Japan.
Yeah, Shinto.
Or the Day of the Dead in Mexico, where they celebrate the dead.
Or Santos or Santeria.
Mm-hmm. Which is Haitian.
Which is Haitian. And Cuban, Spaniard, Cuban, or Afro-Cuban.
Santeria.
Yeah. And a lot of these cultures, and even within our culture, we do it, but we're not aware of it. And there's a lot of stuff that we do in our culture that's spiritual, and we don't realize that we're actually doing it because it's been passed on to us and it's been changed through the years.
Well, before we take this break, when is the last time you had a spiritual, where you felt the spirit contacting you? Was it recently? Did you have an experience like that?
Recently was, first one that comes to mind, obviously, is when my father had passed away. My stepfather passed away about 6 years ago. 3 days after his passing, I laid down really quick. I wasn't sleeping. I laid down really quick, and I felt his presence. I felt like he was in the room. And I had asked one question out loud.
And we'll hold off on that. We'll find out what that question was right after this on the American Roundtable on Tough TV and Tough TV 38. Welcome back to the American Roundtable. So happy you're joining us here on this show. We've been running American Roundtable on Tough TV and Tough TV 38 for almost 3 years, and I thank you so much for your support of our program. We'd love to interact with you. Please visit our Facebook page, and you can comment. You can write us personally. My name is Al Spry, and I'm very happy to be here with you. Facebook.com/USA Roundtable. That's Facebook.com/USA Roundtable. And we bring this show every week, every Sunday at 9 a.m. on Tough TV across the nation. And I'm so happy to have back with us Paul Meckes. Paul Meckes is an ordained metaphysician. This is a special two-part series, and we're looking at the spiritual and metaphysical and how it affects our lives. And you were relaying to us earlier a story that your father had passed away not long ago. And I'm sorry about that, by the way. But somehow he's still around, which is hopeful.
Yeah.
So tell us again, relate that story for us.
It was 3 days after he had passed, and I get home, and I guess from work or the vacation, that bereavement vacation that I was taken, and I go into the bedroom, getting ready to lay down, and I feel the presence. I feel his presence in the room, and it's something, whether it's my parent or somebody else's parent. When there's somebody around you, you know it. There's something within the body, the physiology of the body, that you know somebody's there, and you can feel it.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much exactly what happened. That's what I felt. And when I felt that, I knew it. I knew he was there, and I knew he was trying to reach out to let me know he was okay. But I had to ask a question. The question I asked was, "Are you okay?" Immediately, I heard his voice, but whether it was actually audible to where anybody else could hear it, but obviously I was the only one in the room, and I heard his voice as clear as day, better than anything. And he said one thing, a directive: "Take care of your mother, will you?" And I was like, "I will." And then his energy just faded away.
Well, I would like to relate a story to you, which I've never told until this moment. And right after my mother passed away in August of 2005, it must have been no more than within a week after, I was missing her greatly. I was laying in my bed. Maybe there's something about being in the bed or being in that state where you're not fully in your moment, in the day, and you're so distracted by all these things that maybe you're more open to this stuff. That's interesting that you would relate the story. It's making me want to tell it as well. So I was laying in my bed on my side, and I felt a hand and an arm come around me and hold me like my mom would hold me. And I knew it was her. I don't know, can't tell you how or why I knew it, but I just knew it. It was almost her telling me that she's okay. It was almost the same exact thing that happened to you. And I've never told that story before to anyone. I don't even think I've told my wife that story. But somehow I never really felt it after.
Yeah.
Just that thing saying that she's okay. Now, I have gone to Casadega. You had spiritualists contact my mom, and things have been told to me that make me 100% positive that it was her actually speaking things to the medium. So I'm fairly confident that she's doing just fine, and I'll see her again someday. So all of these stories about heaven, maybe there's something to them.
Yeah.
I mean, what is heaven? What is hell? In my mind, and I want to get your thoughts on this. In my mind, heaven is being in tune with God, which is the positive force that makes everything grow, develop. The tree grows out, the tree doesn't grow in. The tree, everything expands.
Yeah.
The universe at this very moment is expanding. So, if the universe is expanding, if goodness is expanding, and everything, the abundance is expanding, then the opposite must be true too. Maybe the absence of God, hell, is for those spirits who decide on a negative path. They want the opposite of the positive, the opposite of God, the opposite of growth, the opposite of goodness. So they end up in maybe they end up in a negative spiritual space. What are your thoughts on that?
The consensus that I have come up with is that the liberation of the soul, or our passing, when we leave this body, and our consciousness continues into what we call the soul, the spirit, into the spirit realm, the different ethers of space or levels of frequencies where our spirit can dwell, is the heaven. that is the heaven part of our spirituality, our spirit, our continuation. And the debate on hell, from what I feel and what I think, and from some of my people that I've worked with, is that hell is the life that we give ourselves while we are in body. Mm-hmm. The choices that we make, the bad, the good, the things that we have to be put up against, such as pain and agony, whether it's physical or emotional. That's the hell, so to speak, is proclaimed. That is what the hell is, aside from the spirit.
Do you think that travels on? Do you think that there is a negative space that you can actually put your spirit in by the actions of what you do on earth?
I feel that through my studies and through spirituality, that a bully in life, if you're a bully in life and you're bad in life, your energy will continue on. That part of the consciousness does continue on as a bully. So if you're in spirit, you're a bully in spirit. That's why we've had some cases of investigations where the spirit is actually a bully. Likes to push people or shove people and stuff like that. So we've had, there's been a lot of cases out there like that. But
so
like
dark energy continues as dark energy.
Yeah. There's a yin and a yang. You can't have good without evil. You can't have dark without light. They have to coexist.
Please join us next week where we have part 2 of our talk with Paul Meckes right here on American Roundtable on Tough TV and the Tough TV Network. I'm Al Spry for Paul Meckes. Remember to keep it real and keep it tough.